Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a multi-million-dollar announcement for recovery efforts in the city of Tuscaloosa.
The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development is granting the city of Tuscaloosa nearly $44 million for disaster recovery. WVUA's Jennifer Edwards has the details in tonight's top story.
We're going to look back a few years from now and think back to this day on 15th Street and say, you know, that's the moment. That's when the first domino fell. And Tuscaloosa is going to be a better city, and we deserve to be. Our people went through hell and back.
For Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox, the $43.9 million grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development means implementing the Tuscaloosa Forward generational plan.
It's revolutionary to think about what our citizens did coming together to say this is how we want to rebuild our community. And now we actually have the means to accomplish the majority of it.
To see us be able to identify these projects that so many of our citizens participated in and creating the list of projects that we need to work on and giving us the framework, and now to have the funding that will allow us to move forward with so many of these, it's really an exciting day for us.
The grant is part of HUD's Community Development Block Grant Program to support long-term disaster recovery efforts in areas with the greatest amount of unmet needs.
You'll see that money on the ground very shortly. In a way, as you've already seen, Tuscaloosa Forward has already laid out those programs. You'll see everything from infrastructure, housing, business development, all the kind of things this community needs for generational change.
Mayor Maddox says this is one of the largest single grants the city has received in its history. Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Jennifer Edwards, WVUA News.
Birmingham and Jefferson County also received funding for recovery efforts from HUD today for a total of nearly $120 million in the state of Alabama.
WVUA is covering Hale County, where a one-year-old child was killed in a car crash. This happened Tuesday on Alabama Highway 69, 5 miles south of Greensboro. State troopers say one-year-old James Carlton McGillberry of Demopolis was killed when the vehicle he was riding in struck a tree. Troopers say the child was not properly restrained in a car seat. The cause of the crash is still under investigation, but authorities say speed was a factor.
On your Money Watch tonight, getting the most from your vehicle. Thanks to the economy, some people are putting off buying a new automobile.
So how long can you save money and keep rolling in the vehicle that you have now for as long as possible? WVUA's Emily Forrester stopped by an auto body repair shop to find out.
People are not buying as many cars as they used to.
Warren Tire and Auto General Manager Brad Johnson says this is the reason more drivers have been bringing their cars into repair shops over the last 5 years. Some drivers say having mechanics check out their cars is their only form of maintenance.
I rely on other people to tell me because I'm a complete idiot when it comes to keeping up with the car.
I try to follow the maintenance schedule on my vehicle, make sure that if any lights are coming on that I bring it in and get it repaired.
Johnson says the following steps could keep your car out of the shop. Change the oil regularly, check tire pressure, check fluids, keep gas in the car, and don't drive aggressively. Johnson says keeping up with regularly scheduled maintenance instead of avoiding repair costs can be less expensive in the end.
If you get your car maintained properly, any service that they can catch ahead of time will save you money. The longer you let something go, the worse off it's going to get.
I've had vehicles where I did not take them in regularly, and it's better to pay, incrementally than to try to get something fixed because you didn't have the proper maintenance on it.
And to ensure the highest resale value of your car,
keep records of everything that you do to your car.
Johnson says getting your car checked every 3,500 miles can keep their wrenches out of your engine. Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Emily Forrester, WVUA News.
And Johnson says while car sales did go down over the past 5 years, they have been picking up during recent months.
With Mississippi recently legalizing home brewing, Alabama is now the only state that doesn't allow citizens to brew small amounts of beer or wine at home for their personal use. Home brewing enthusiasts have been trying since 2009 to get the Alabama legislature to legalize what several thousand people are already doing illegally. but they have always met with strong opposition. Home brewing bills have won approval from legislative committees and could come up for a vote in the House or Senate soon. Bran Warren of the Right to Brew organization says he's more than optimistic than he's ever been about the legislation passing, but members of the Alabama Citizen Action Program say it will be harmful for their children, to see their parents making alcohol at home. When college students go on spring break, a trip to the beach or another vacation spot typically is where they want to head.
But a group of University of Missouri students are spending their break this year in Marion County doing volunteer work. The group came to Tuscaloosa for a little break. The students are working with Habitat for Humanity of Northwest Alabama and were given one day off to go anywhere they wanted, and the students chose to come to Tuscaloosa. Their day began at the President's Mansion for a tour of the University of Alabama campus and will end with a tour of the tornado-damaged areas in town. Volunteer Lillian Robinson told WVUA about their experiences so far in Tuscaloosa and the work they are doing in Northwest Alabama.
We've been working on finishing up a house, a Habitat house, and then we'll be laying the foundation for another house, I think, beginning tomorrow and the rest of the week. So just been working, meeting a lot of great people involved with Habitat, and while we're here on campus, we're just getting a tour and kind of checking out what Alabama has to offer, which is a lot, it seems like.
And the volunteers are part of the Alternative Spring Break program, and this is the second trip in which Missouri students came to volunteer in Alabama. It's day 2 in the Supreme Court debate over same-sex marriage and the rights of same-sex couples.
Today, the court heard arguments on the legality of the Defense of Marriage Act. Tori Dunnan has more.
The Defense of Marriage Act is on trial. The federal law passed in 1996 defines marriage as a union between a man and a woman. Same-sex couples are not eligible for federal financial benefits that heterosexual couples receive, like Social Security and pensions. The plaintiff in this case is Edith Windsor, whose wife died in 2009.
In the midst of my grief, I realized that the federal government was treating us as strangers, and I paid a humongous estate tax.
Supporters of DOMA say changing it would threaten the sanctity of marriage.
It has to be rational for Congress then to say, well, we're going to reaffirm what this word has always meant for purposes of federal law.
This case follows Tuesday's showdown over Proposition 8, which bans same-sex marriage in California. After hearing both oral arguments this week, the Supreme Court can decide to make a ruling on the future of marriage or not.
So you were seeing a bit of a sticker shock problem with the justices, that they were worried about handing down a major ruling, either recognizing same-sex marriage or the right of equality, or rejecting it.
For the second day in a row, supporters from both sides gathered outside.
I want to be able to marry my partner and have all of the same rights as, a man and a woman.
In February, the Obama administration weighed in, saying it believes denying federal financial benefits to same-sex married couples is unconstitutional. In Washington, Tori Dunnan, WVUA News.
The new leader of the Secret Service is making history.
President Obama has appointed a woman to head up the Secret Service. Julia Pearson is the first female director of the agency, and she's been the chief of staff to the director since 2008. Pearson replaces Mark Sullivan, who retired in February.
And if you have Delta Sky Miles, use them while you can. Under new rules that went into effect this month, your miles will die when you do. Delta's policy used to allow members to leave their miles to family or their friends. A spokeswoman for the Atlanta-based carrier says the bonus miles are intended to reward those who participate in the program. United, Southwest, and JetBlue already have similar rules in place. On the positive side, though, Delta Sky Miles never expire as long as you're alive.